Nowadays, there seem to be more shark attacks than ever. Every month, there are headlines across the world of someone being attacked, whether it's fatal or not, by a shark while swimming, surfing, or diving in the great oceans. It seems clashes with humans are on the rise, as more and more of us are drawn into their territory. But are shark attacks really on the rise? And how concerned should we be? Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. Lots of us find sharks fascinating. There's something terrifying about them, but also something that we find intriguing. They are one of the most successful predators on Earth. Their very earliest ancestors are thought to have swum the oceans 400 million years ago. They have hundreds of millions of years of instinct tucked beneath their tough, leathery skin. Killer instinct. Something that sends a chill down our spines when we enter the water, not knowing what's lurking beneath. Rows upon rows of sharp teeth. Speed, power, and agility. All traits that aid in their success. For many of us, entering the sea is an enjoyable experience. But often, at the very backs of our minds are the thoughts of sharks. A shadow beneath the surface or some seaweed brushing against our legs can set the mind racing and the heart thumping as flashbacks of Jaws the movie come rushing into our heads. We have all been gripped by the horrifying tales of men and women lost at sea, continuously circled by hungry, prowling sharks, their dorsal fins slicing through the surface as they come closer to investigate. If we look back over the past century, there have been a steady increase in shark attacks globally, but there's also been a significant increase in the global population of people. Today, that number stands at over 8 billion people. In 1950, however, the global population was just 2.5 billion. So with more people in the world and more people venturing into the sea, you are bound to get more human-shark encounters. And that means more shark attacks. However, if you look at the statistics and consider the shark attack rate, then it tells a different story. This is calculated as how many shark attacks occur per billion people, and this has remained fairly consistent and incredibly low over the past century or so. In 1950, the shark attack rate was 0.012 per billion people, and in 2020, the rate was 0.010 per billion people. Despite this relatively unchanged attack rate, scientists have seen a rise in shark activity in our coastal waters, and there appears to be a logical explanation for this. Climate change. As we all know, the sea temperature is rising, and with it, the organisms and the marine ecosystem are being affected. 2023 saw the highest global temperatures in 100,000 years. Even the slightest change in sea temperature can have significant effects on some organisms. Salinity can be affected by temperature, which can be catastrophic for marine animal and plant life. Their tolerance to change is very low, and even the smallest variation can be catastrophic. A rise in water levels can also affect those who live on or near the shore, as well as the ocean currents that so many species rely on. Sharks prefer cooler waters. As the water temperature heats up, they are being forced out of their natural hunting grounds. They are migrating into colder waters, heading closer to the poles. This means that sharks are now being spotted in areas where they never used to be. Between 2014 and 2020, the normal northern boundary for juvenile great white sharks in the Pacific Ocean moved northwards by 600 kilometers. The younger, smaller sharks cannot maintain their body temperature in the cold waters, where the adults can. But as the sea temperatures rose, they began to move northwards, becoming prevalent in California's Monterey Bay. There may soon be warning signs on beaches across the UK or other European coastlines, alerting people to the potential dangers of entering the sea. In fact, around the UK, there are 40 species of shark, which is the highest there's ever been, and this is likely to rise to around 60 species in the near future. Beachgoers will have to begin adhering to safety advice that is more typical of Australia or Florida than Europe or more northern countries. Furthermore, the rising sea temperatures have altered the ocean's currents and therefore the dispersal of sharks' natural prey. They are having to hunt further and harder to find food, drawing them closer and closer to our shores. Overfishing has depleted their natural source of food, and destruction of marine habitats, such as coral reefs, mean that sharks are under more pressure than ever to search for their prey. When a shark attack does occur, Shark experts are often quick to point out that sharks are under immense strain with depleting fish stocks. Tragedies in the Red Sea caused by shark attacks have been attributed to overfishing. A loss of the shark's typical food source, such as tuna, is driving them into shore, where they sense potential prey as people splash about in the shallows. It's difficult to blame the sharks for looking elsewhere for food. Not only are the rising global temperatures affecting the behavior of sharks, but it's also affecting our behavior. More people are frequenting the beach than ever as we bask in the summer sun. Heat waves are becoming longer, more frequent, and more intense. In the U.S., heat wave frequency has tripled since the 1960s, and that is only going to get worse as climate change grips the globe. With scorching temperatures, where are people going to go to cool down? Most likely, the beach. More sunshine means more dips in the ocean, and an increase in activities like snorkeling, surfing, and paddleboarding. For a hungry shark drawn to the nutrient-rich coastal waters in search for prey, they are more likely than ever to encounter a human. And when they do, that's when disaster can strike and headlines are made. When the Jaws movie came out in 1975, there was a significant drop in beachgoers for the next few years as the Jaws effect took hold. People were too afraid to enter the water. Sharks were made out to be monstrous eating machines that attacked everyone in sight. People avoided the beach during their vacations, and as a result, shark attacks plummeted. Now, with increased sightings in places where sharks are not known to frequent, you'd be forgiven for thinking that their numbers are on the rise. But that's not true. In fact, 100 million sharks are killed by humans every year. In the past 50 years alone, 70% of the world's population of sharks and rays has been lost. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Fewer sharks mean safer seas for us, surely. Not exactly. Sharks are one of the ocean's top predators, and without them, the entire ecosystem could collapse. They stop the predatory fish that consume the same fish we eat from overpopulating the seas and diminishing our fish stocks and forcing fisheries to shut down. They keep everything in check. What happens at the top of the food chain has a knock-on effect lower down. They keep the predatory fish populations below them in balance, which in turn keeps herbivorous fish at healthy levels and prevents the seagrass and algae from dominating coral reefs. Not only do they inadvertently help to keep our food on the table, but they also bring in a serious amount of cash where ecotourism thrives. Despite their terrifying reputation, people are still fascinated by them, and they can make a significant difference to the local economy. A single reef shark in the Bahamas can earn the country $250,000 from tourism. And in Belize, a whale shark can bring in a staggering $2 million over its lifetime. However, because of their significance in the food chain and now their change in behavior and migration, they are having an impact on other wildlife that wouldn't normally be exposed to them. The changing sea conditions are forcing predator and prey closer together. In Monterey Bay, the great white sharks that have recently established a home there have decimated the sea otter population. Scientists have recorded sea otter numbers to have dropped by 86% since the arrival of the juvenile great whites. Locals have understandably become concerned with the new arrivals. Although they are considered juveniles, they can still be 6 or 7 feet long and deliver a devastating bite. But shared knowledge about sharks can help keep us and them safe. Since 1950, California has seen a 91% drop in shark attacks, thanks to education and awareness campaigns. We owe a lot to sharks, even though they can pose a threat to our safety when we enter their domain. We should treat them with respect.